Hey, welcome to the Stephanie Stevens Show, where I help you discover the power of communication and the keys that unlock the doors to freedom in every area of your life. Hi, friend. I think I can call you friend now since this is already episode 4. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stephanie Stevens. This is the Stephanie Stevens Show, where we find our voices, which lends to our freedom in every area of life. So today I wanted to talk with you briefly about what happens when we move and what we discover about ourselves. Now, a move can take place in a relationship, it can take place in a household, it can take place in a job transition, in many other ways, even related to health. But anytime you make a major life transition or shift, my goodness gracious, do we discover some new things about ourselves. So I was going to title this podcast, What You Find Out About Yourself When You Move, but that's kind of a boring and a really long title. So let's just get into it. I moved my entire household recently, and I could have not foreseen the challenges. If you've been there, you know. You try to plan and pack and get everybody on board, and you think you're going to be organized. At least I did. I had it planned out months in advance, and the intention was total organization, smooth, maybe even an enjoyable move. Well, that's not what happened. It wasn't total chaos, but it was pretty close. Anytime you move yourself and others, you discover things about yourself that you maybe didn't know before. And I remember driving on one of the many trips to try to transition stuff from the old place to the new home, thinking to myself, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we do this to ourselves in terms of the amount of things we tend to accumulate? Now, I don't want this to be specifically about just moving households, because we can accumulate and amass things in our emotions. We can accumulate and amass things in our minds. And as we know, we can accumulate and amass things in our bodies. And as I was driving, I thought, what are we doing to ourselves? And what is it about our culture, our society, and where we find ourselves that really pushes us to surround ourselves with so much, I'm just going to say it, crap. A lot of stuff that I discovered that I had from the last move that just was put in a box and moved into the basement. Never even opened. So here we went for years without even opening the box. It found out we didn't need it. I can practically assure you I have 3 or 4 of that item because I probably added to my collection of that specific item when I discovered I needed it and didn't have it, forgetting I had it in a box somewhere. But again, as I take a look around and I inventory most, and I do mean most of the things, really in any given household, we don't need. A lot of the stuff we like, a lot of the stuff holds some type of value. But there are spiritual practices in which you take a look around a room before you enter into a space of contemplation, meditation, and you look at any given object and you ask yourself one question. What does that object have in terms of meaning? What does that object mean to me? And then you transcend that and you say to yourself, that object has only the meaning I place on it. It has only the meaning I give it. So you look at an armchair and you say to yourself, that chair has no meaning other than the meaning I give it. And as I looked around at the many things, I had to ask myself why on earth I continued to carry from household to household and room to room. It was a profound experience in asking myself, what does this mean to me and why do I have it in my life? Can I release this? The answer, of course, time and time again is and was yes. And I assure you that even as I begin to unpack the boxes that are now amassed in the rooms of my new home, I'm living each day without those items that are in those boxes, believe it or not. Somehow, some way I'm managing. Begs the question, doesn't it? What exactly is in there and why do I think I need it? So as you take an inventory of your life, emotionally, spiritually, physically and relationally. My friends, the question I would encourage you, and I'm going to join you in it today, that we might ask is, what meaning does this thing, this feeling, this item hold in my life? And do I need it? Is it time to release it? Is it time to give it back to the person that gave it to me? When you think about this, think about an emotion. Think about something that you might be carrying for someone else. You know that there are a lot of people that carry additional weight and mass on their bodies that isn't even theirs? That incredible? Isn't even theirs. Somebody else's. It was a suggestion made by someone years and years, maybe even decades ago, that we took on, we internalized the feeling, we attached meaning to it, and then we added to it as a way to heal it, understand it, process it, but it became something in us. It became an attitude. It became a behavior. It became the accumulation of cells or fat. It became something to us. And my encouragement to you today is find one thing. Inventory emotionally, just do a scan, maybe even close your eyes and scan emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Is there anything that pops up in the forefront of your mind that you are ready to release right now? And I promise you what happens is as you release, you're going to feel great. It's going to feel so good. You'll be able to take that big, deep breath, a sigh of relief, and you create a vacuum. You create space. And where there is space, my dear, you've created a void of creation. Anytime you create space, that space will be occupied with a new thing. Maybe it's just more creativity. Maybe you can replace it with something new, something that's current, something that isn't old and antiquated, but something that is a higher resolution in your life than the thing that you're ready to release or give back to the person whose it is. Replace it with something new. Replace it with something that's yours. Replace it with something that is your creator's. Replace it with something that now brings you into a new, fresh perspective in life, into a new place. Well, I wish you wonderful success in this practice, in this very short exercise today. And again, I join you in it all. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to connect with you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to The Stephanie Stevens Show. Please remember to subscribe so we can stay connected and you never miss an episode of the podcast. Oh, and if you haven't left a rating yet, please be sure to do so. It helps incredible people like you find the podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.